Hello and welcome. Thanks for tuning in to episode two of this still yet unnamed podcast, wherever you may be listening from. Before we get started, I wanted to give a quick disclaimer though. While we talk quite a bit about F3, check out f3nation.com. This is not actually an officially sanctioned F3 podcast. Just want to get that out of the way. However, we do want this podcast to serve the men of the Shamanwood region here in Illinois of F3 and also to help introduce F3 to new audiences however possible. So to that end, let's start by reminding people who may not be familiar exactly with what F3 is. It stands for Fitness, Fellowship, and Faith. As always, please welcome my partner in crime, Doghouse. Also, I'm really excited to introduce a new element to the podcast today. Each episode, we're going to try to bring in one of the men of Shamanwood as our third man. Today, we've invited Baby Momma. So, men, welcome. Thank you for joining me. Just wanted to get started asking how you guys are doing today. How's your week been going so far?
I'm good. Had a couple posts this week so far. I think I'm on my third or fourth. I've been going good so far. Looking forward to tomorrow, which will be Three Rivers Friday.
Thanks for having me, Puddles and Doghouse. This is Baby Mama coming to you. Recovering from a pneumonia spell, so trying to get my lungs back under me. Had a good post this morning at the campus. Got a little running in, felt good. So hopefully next week, continue my usual cadence. But thanks for having me.
Good. Good. Glad to hear you're back on the right side of that. That was a couple weeks it felt like that you were under the weather.
Yeah.
All right, so before we jump into the first F, second F, and third F, Doghouse, would you mind sharing F3's core values, mission, and credo?
Gladly. So we are open to all men. We are free of charge. We are held outside, rain, shine, heat, or cold. Peer led in a rotating fashion, and we always end in a circle of trust. Our mission statement is to plant, grow, and serve small workout groups for men for the invigoration of male community leadership. And our credo is to leave no man behind, but leave no man where we find him.
All right, sounds good. All right, so the first section of the podcast is around the first F, which, of course, as I mentioned, is fitness. What we'd like to do is talk about a workout of the week. One of the posts over this past week, 2 weeks, last couple of weeks that really stood out to us. We'll go a little bit round robin. I'll get us started. There were two VQs, virgin cues. Where a man steps up in the group and leads his first workout. A couple weeks ago, Snail Mail did his first Run Club VQ after doing his first general VQ. And then Toolbox also did a VQ. Were you at Toolbox's VQ by any chance, Doghouse?
That was last Wednesday, right at the Wood. It was good. It was one of the better VQs for sure. He had good command. The workout was good. We did the Dora, if I'm not mistaken, right? Um, yeah, great overall design, good COT, and good job of stepping up and commanding the packs.
Yeah, I'm always surprised by how well some of the men do, and then in their COT, like I'm thinking of Snail Mail's VQ at the campus. He started off by saying, like, you have no idea how uncomfortable this is for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like how difficult it is for me to stand in front of all of you and speak. Like he's an admitted introvert and he is not comfortable speaking, but I thought he did a fantastic job. I never would have guessed that just hearing him talk.
Yeah, it's always exciting at the end of a VQ to hear the COT. I think that's personally my favorite part of the VQ is to see a man our age get vulnerable and express, what's gone on in his life, what he's worked on, where he's coming from, what his future holds. So that was something I didn't know about him, and it makes you look at him in a different light.
Yeah, it's interesting. We from day one, we're always given the opportunity to lead and encouraged to lead. But I think something has to happen at some point where the men step over that threshold and say, I knew I always had the opportunity to lead a workout, but now I think I'm finally ready. And to be honest, I don't think anybody ever really feels completely ready the first time they do it. But it is really exciting to see them step over that line that you can't go back on. And I know Snail Mail's had a couple he was already scheduled to follow that. So it's been great.
So I'll be honest, it was reindeer games points for me for my VQ, but got me on the board. So
there you go. That's the purpose of reindeer games: get guys out and doing
absolutely.
things they wouldn't normally do.
Yeah, reindeer games, the bricklayer challenge right now, the sandlot running challenge that's coming up starting I think next week or the week after. Just gets guys out of their comfort zone a little bit. I know one of the other workouts I wanted to highlight was actually an off the books workout. We've been doing this Sunday ruck over behind
Hmm.
Crispy Waffle, and that's been great. Like Rooney and I have been doing EC runs because we committed to 1 mile a day at least that we'd be running every day in the month of May. And so we've been getting together for EC runs, but then adding that Sunday ruck on top of it. Doghouse, I know you were there a couple weeks ago. It's
Hmm.
really a great way to close out the weekend and leave no days off.
Yeah, that was one of our favorite spots. I know, Baby Momma, you've been there many times. Hamel Woods, a little bit different starting point. We didn't end with pizza like we normally do, but uh, one of the better hiking areas in the region for sure.
Yeah, I hope it continues myself. We've done some off the book stuff at McKinley Woods, and the terrain is awesome. You've got incline, you've got decline, you got a
Mhm.
lot of great scenery, and it's a great way to spend time rather than sitting at the local watering hole.
Mhm. Yeah. Any other workouts in the last couple of weeks you wanted to call attention to, either one of you?
Yeah, I know we've got Memorial Day coming up. Norm's COT Wednesday night related to Memorial Day and recognizing our veterans. He did something really cool where we each called out anyone in our family that had served. I thought that was a nice tribute. Also enjoyed his workout. It was a lift club. So it really didn't matter what exercise you chose, but you needed to complete 5,000 pounds worth of reps. And we had a variety of toys to play with for a total of 50,000 pounds. So that was great. I'm sore today from it. And I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up Ricola's workout of the week this morning, the WOD we did at the campus again. Just a great way to honor those that served, those that gave their lives for us, for our freedom. Again, another great COT. But the big part of that one was having a partner. I always have loved partner workouts. I think you are held accountable that way, and I thought he had a great design, and we all really we earned it this morning.
Hmm. Yeah, that accountability I think it's underappreciated in F3 for sure. A lot of us have a shield block. A lot of us have those partner workouts where, like this morning, for example, I'm running with Rooney. We got out to a really good start on our 1 mile EC, and in that last lap, he's saying he's looking down at his watch, saying, we're pretty close to your personal best. And, keep pushing it, push it, push it. So that last like half lap, there's no way I would have been running as fast as I was if it wasn't with him. And then to stay with him throughout that workout, that accountability. I know you can get that at the gym, but it's different somehow in F3. That kind of accountability is different. All right, so
Yeah,
I want to
absolutely.
shift. I'm sorry, Doug. Are you going to say anything?
I was going to jump in. I got one more I want to throw on the
Yeah.
list. So last Monday at the island, Sparkler came down and pretty much tricked us into doing a burpee motivator from 10. He threw in one of my favorite things about Sparkler is he plays the mind games, right? And he's very much
Mhm.
a you can do anything. Your mind's typically your limiting factor, and he exemplified that with this workout where he basically went around in the circle. We did our warm rama. We're still in the circle, and he points at I think it was Latte and says, "All right, Latte, blockies or burpees?" Of course, Latte picks blockies, and we do 10 blockies. But he kind of gives you that psychological feeling of like, oh, well, you chose it, so maybe it lessens the blow or whatever. But and then he goes to the next guy in the circle, and he goes, "All right, blockies or burpees?" And everybody's kind of like, "Uh oh." And then we do 9, and then 8, 7, 6. We worked our way down, but you know, he didn't come out and say from the beginning, "Oh, we're going to do motivating blockies from 10 and all the way down to 1." So
Yeah,
he does a good job of doing the mind tricks and getting an extra 10% out of you.
I think Ricola mentioned something about that this morning too. He purposely
Hmm.
didn't put into the pre-blast that we were going to meet at the track and we were going to be running a lot because he didn't
Right.
want guys who don't want to run to not show up for that. So that kind of disruption, I think, does force you out of your comfort zone and maybe gets more out of you in that
And who
setting.
knew that 800 meters in reverse could
Oh,
give such a toll on your calves and hamstrings?
yeah, and I felt it in my hips, I felt it in my quads, but more than anything else, it slowed down the workout so much that I think we only got through just over two circuits. I think there were three, if not four, planned.
Right.
You just can't run. I can't run fast backwards. I keep on falling my butt. All right, so the second part of the first F section is an AO spotlight. Last week we did the wood in Shorewood. This week we've already talked about Three Rivers a couple of times. I wanted to focus on Three Rivers. It's in Shanahan. It's Central Park, right where the Tomahawk Aquatic Center is in that big parking lot. One of the things I think it's best known for, I'm sure you guys would agree, is the Fun Friday, the really
Hmm.
big group that comes out. And even before the workout starts, uh, the mumble chatter that's going on in Slack. I think what do we try to get up to, Doghouse? Like 20 guys and 100 comments, something like that.
Yeah, 28 season, 100 comments is usually our goal for our pre-blast on Slack. I think we're getting close today. I know we got about 15 each season, I think about 60 comments. So we're a little light so far, but maybe Yellow Card will get them in there and
We
Uh,
fire
rouse
up
them up.
we fire up in the evening down here in the South, so
Yeah.
I'm sure we're gonna hit it.
my phone was going crazy. I was at my daughter's preschool bridge ceremony, and I'm like
Mhm.
taking pictures, and the notifications just keep cycling through on my phone. Get out of here, get out of here. But that's when I was going nuts about 1 o'clock or so. But yeah, that's fun just to see guys calling each other out and trying to get as many people there as possible. Obviously, tomorrow is GrubX's uh, 2 year anniversary, so that's really exciting to see. But it's just a different kind of energy. It's a lot of
Mhm.
times it's a little bit more competitive. Like last week was basketball. That was a lot of fun. Um, there's a big parking lot which we always need. There's those tennis courts and basketball courts. There's a running path that goes all around. The coffee pavilion has been great. And it's one of the few AOs we have that has evening workouts. And I know Doghouse, you've done a bunch of those. So I'll just quickly go through the schedule of workouts available at Three Rivers, and then I want to hear from you guys what your experience has been like there. Monday evening is a boot camp at Three Rivers. Tuesday morning is also a boot camp there. And then Wednesday evening is the second evening boot camp of the week. And then, as we mentioned, tomorrow morning at 5:15 is the Fun Friday boot camp. What's your experience been like at Three Rivers? What do you guys like about it?
Well, for me, Three Rivers has been, speaking of Fridays particularly, I find that Fridays is a good way to get guys out that have fallen off or we haven't
Mhm.
seen in a while.
Hmm.
I think the pressure and the peer pressure of the thread that's going at night um, really makes them understand what they've been missing, and we usually see a lot of them show up. So that's exciting. Also, speaking of Sparkler, I think he's actually created a 3 mile route. I forgot what it's named on Strava. A lot of EC runs happen in the morning at Three Rivers. So you take
Yeah,
off down Route 6 towards the uh, Thornton's gas station. I believe if you circle that pole and come back, it's 3 miles. And he
it's
actually has a
exactly 3 miles. Yeah.
where you can tally you can check your standings. So that motivates a lot of guys to do the EC runs as well. But I think it goes back to what you said, Puddles. The AO's got a lot to offer. We don't have a hill there, but we do have a lot of adjoining trails. We're close to the I&M Canal. We've got multiple parking lots, two schools on the property, everything from basketball courts to baseball fields to pavilions. So I think the queue can really get creative with all that it has to offer. So we get a good variety of workouts there. We do have a lot of sports themed workouts there, which has been fun. And you'll see guys show up that they want to come just for that fun and camaraderie rather than, just a straightforward cardio based workout. But yeah, we've had a lot of great times out there. We've done tacoteria in the morning, breakfast tacos. We celebrated a lot of birthdays. We've started rucks from there, on the weekends to do a Shaman Wood ruck that's, over 12 miles. So it's kind of been the anchor. It is the anchor, I would say, of the South.
And we just had the convergence there.
And we just had the
Orlando.
convergence. Exactly.
Right. That was a really great example of how many uses that AO has, just to move guys through that entire area. I was kind of off in the grass soccer fields leading a station there, but just to see how much potential is there for all the different stations was really cool.
Yeah,
How
I'd
about you,
agree with all
Douglas?
that. That was my first post was Three Rivers on an evening,
Hmm.
cold November evening, back in 2023. Like you guys said, a variety of everything. I think the only thing it's missing is a hill. We got the tennis courts. We've done dodgeball, convergence. I think one of my favorite things we do there is cafeteria and our second F cookouts, right? The
Right.
pavilions there. We had a lot of fun. Had a lot of coffee, had a couple beers, a couple dogs. So
Fun
yeah, that
fact.
is what's that?
Fun fact too. I believe it's the only AO in Shamanwood for sure, and probably F3 Plainfield that Santa Claus has showed up to work out at. So that was exciting when Crabgrass showed up, and it was 25 mile an hour plus winds, snow blowing sideways, and we were working out with Santa Claus. That was you didn't even feel the weather that day because everybody was laughing about it.
That was a good time. I remember that one. But yeah, it's definitely I think both in terms of numbers and impact culturally, and of course, with everything we do, it's definitely the center of the Shamanwood universe, I would say.
Yeah, it used to feel so far away from me. I live in Shorewood, and I used to think, man, Shamanwood's half an hour away. It's like 11 minutes away. It's so close. It's
Right.
it's
Yeah.
deceivingly close because I have to get on 55 and then get off at 6, but it's not very far at all. And once I got over that, now I'm a staple there on Fridays as much as I can be. All right, let's shift over to the second F section of the podcast. This is one of the reasons we bring a third man in. We want to get to know the packs in the region, give anyone who's watching a chance to better know guys like Baby Momma who've been involved for a long time, but perhaps haven't answered some of the very basic questions that we just don't have time to ask a lot. So I'll go through a couple questions. Baby Momma, feel free to spend as
Sure.
much or as little time on these as you'd like. And Doghouse, if you have any follow-up, jump right in. But let's start with first, when and how did you find F3?
I was going to a local gym in Manuka, and Dan Avalos, who is also known as Soccer Mom,
Mhm.
had brought up F3 to me for almost 2 years, maybe longer, and had bugged me repeatedly to come out to the Coliseum for a workout. Uh, Typically, as usual, 5:15. You got to be kidding me. I was like a 3 p.m. or evening gym guy. Um, but it was a convergence. I think it's been almost 3 years now at the Coliseum that he called me up, and I showed up to a 110 packs convergence at the Coliseum with not a four corner, but a four station beatdown. And I remember I thought I was in great shape at the time. I had just gone through about a 2-3 year lifestyle change with my eating habits. So I had dropped just over 90 pounds and
Wow.
figured I was in great shape. And Bluegill kicked it off with motivators from 10. Not only did I not know what a motivator was, I wasn't much of a jumper. I was winded after that, and I thought, holy crap, I've got another 55 minutes to go.
Yeah.
So proceeded into the next station with disco ball and the logs, and apparently I didn't have the correct form, so I was immediately taught how to curl a log, lift a log, get it on your shoulder, and at one point I almost threw up my Merlot, as we say it, as we were doing bear crawls and crawl bears over in the soccer field. Super memorable, but really what stuck out was not only did I run into some people that I hadn't seen in probably 10 years, Shawshank was one of them. He grew up a friend of my brother's. I hadn't seen him in quite some time. And I thought, wow, he's out here doing this. This is great. We had a great cafeteria and some snacks afterwards. And got to know the guys, and I was totally hooked. I don't think I could have been hooked anymore. And from that point forward, I don't think I missed another workout that entire year. So I ended up on the flag at the end of that year, and really got involved with everything, first, second, and third F. Started to read Q Source, which we'll probably get into in a minute, but realized this was something that was missing from my life. Middle-aged men usually go through some big time changes in their career, with their families, personally, could be medically, and we don't have that vulnerability or those close-knit friendships that we actually open up and share. So the leadership that was in place at the time, and the guys that I surrounded myself with, they did just that. They got me to come out of my shell, open up, feel comfortable, and really excel in my fitness side of things with cardio and that sort of thing. But yeah, that was my first experience. Soccer mom brought me out, and
Do you have an idea of what your post count is today?
probably around 670, 675.
Okay. Right.
Excuse me.
Right. That's great.
So chugging right along.
Now, take me back to the Convergence is a really interesting place to have your first workout because, as you said, you're surrounded by 110 guys, most of which you have no experience with. And then they put you in the center, you get named by 100 guys just shouting stuff out as you're just introducing yourself. So tell me, how did they settle on Baby Mama?
It's actually, unless you've done it, but doing it with a group that size, right? And hearing the noise, it's almost like when people talk about like they get tunnel vision. And I can think about it as hard as I want, and I don't really remember my surroundings, but I remember, what I was talking about. And I'm not sure anybody heard what I had to say after the first 4 seconds,
Right.
because for some reason I said, "Hey, I'm Rick Solomon. I grew up in Plainfield." And I said, "Baby Mama brought me out," instead of "Soccer Mom." No idea why. Once I said that, everybody jumped on it. And I didn't even understand why they were yelling Baby Mama. So I named myself.
That's all it takes.
Embarrassing moment. And it's stuck ever since.
The rest is history.
Yeah, that's how that all came about. So
great. So fast forward to today, pneumonia notwithstanding, what is your typical posting cadence during a week?
For a long time it was 9, but I try to go every day.
Okay.
Sometimes twice a day with the evening workouts. So my favorite days is to probably get out there. The Saturday morning ruck club is just a good time to reconnect with the guys. The evenings, we kind of have a different vibe in the evenings, but the mornings is really what I look forward to. People talk about, you've already done the hard stuff once you complete an F3 workout in the morning, and that couldn't be more true. And I think your mindset's got to be, after that workout, when you're encountering obstacles, challenges at work during the day, it probably wasn't as hard as what you left on the table with your sweat and sometimes blood in the morning, giving it your all for that 45 minutes. And the reason I love the morning workout is because I never truly want to wake up and go. But you think about the guys that are going to be there. You don't want to miss something, because something fun's going to happen, or you're going to hear something about an event that's coming up. You're going to learn a new workout. You're going to surprise yourself with maybe what you do that morning. And usually about 15, 20 minutes in, you wouldn't rather be anywhere else but at that workout. So I would say my cadence would be at least every day of the week.
Okay.
So 5 to 6, sometimes 9, 10, 12. I don't know. It depends if you bounce around.
Is there an AO at the top of your list that you enjoy, especially since we've split off from Plainfield? Feel free to go back to the Plainfield region and
Sure.
call out any AOs there. Or I know you mentioned the Saturday ruck, but any AO at the top of your list or type of workout that you enjoy more than others?
Yeah, the wood's always been. If I had to choose one, had to choose an AO, the wood's always been my favorite, just for all the reasons of first, second, and third F. I've experienced all of them there. I feel like we always have that when we're there. Everybody loves Mount Wood, the hill. So that's probably my favorite. It is my favorite AO. Um, I like all of them for different reasons, right? The Grizz over in Plainfield, you've got great scenery, you've got amazing terrain. We've talked about Three Rivers. The Ridge is an OG location out at Plainfield. That's got history to it. It's always fun to go there and see the guys that have been around since the inception. But yeah, I would go with the Wood for sure. The type of workouts that I like when we keep moving. So even if we're doing a coupon, which is our cinder block, even if we're lifting or doing some sort of workout or exercise that involves the coupon or a merkin or a body weight squat, in between those to be moving. So whether that be plank jacks, side straddle hops, go on a short run. Pearls on a string is another one for those of you that don't know. It's basically touring the AO on foot at a jog or a run pace and stopping along the way to perform exercises. I think that's a great way to really get your cardio in and some strength training. So those would be my favorite. And if you can incorporate a partner into that or a team of 3-4 guys, I think it just adds to the acceleration that you're going to get out of it.
Mm. It's interesting. I don't, maybe you guys can correct me, but I feel like at the Wood, we don't do a lot of pearls on the string. I
No,
can't,
not really.
and that's surprising because we have the two pavilions. We've got that pond. I'm PsyQ for Run Club, so I'm familiar with the routes that we run around there. But when I think of boot camps, I don't think of a lot of pearls on the string.
Yeah, there's been a few. A pearls on a string with yellow card includes holding your coupon above your head for 2 or 3
Yeah,
miles.
yeah.
Pearls on a string with Picasso is, you stop at 1.5 miles and do something, and then you run another 1.5 miles across
Mhm.
over to Windstone. So we've had some versions of them, but I think to your point, not a typical pearls on the string is very common out there.
Yeah, yeah.
But that AO's got a nice setup where you can use multiple parking lots, and then there's enough path there to have a nice, 400 meter, 800 meter
Yeah.
mosey in between.
Hey, you mentioned a little bit earlier, I wanted to come back to second F just to get a sense from you as to what your favorite second F experience is. Last time Doghouse talked about the trip to Talladega. I think that sounded really cool for the guys who went. Maybe it's that for you, maybe it's something else, but talk a little bit more about your involvement with second half activities with the men.
Yeah, I was blessed to start my F3 life in Plainfield. And something I heard along the way when I was posting in Plainfield from the Naperville packs was that Plainfield did an amazing job with second F and third F. And that was interesting to hear because Naperville is such a large region that has done amazing things. That's where Plainfield spun off from. So there was always a lot of opportunity. The one that really sticks out to me was the Lewis plane pole that we did.
Mm.
Um, growing up as the heavyweight husky kid that was embarrassed to play sports and never really had that team feeling that I hear a lot of guys talk about, being on the football team, the baseball team, traveling, having that camaraderie. That wasn't my experience. So when I got to F3 Plainfield, I kind of felt that. I did feel that. I shouldn't say I kind of did.
Mm.
So having that team of guys and I remember that day, us getting together, talking strategy, similar to you would before the Friday night game in high school, I would imagine. And then going out there and executing and just, it didn't matter if we got first or last that day. We had so much fun. Everybody gave 110%. The high fives, the hugs afterwards, the cheering from the crowd. It was a really great experience, but there really hasn't been one second F that's involved the community that hasn't felt rewarding, personally.
What time of year is that plane pole?
It
That's every
just
year, isn't it?
I believe they just had it in, gosh, Doghouse, do you remember there was a post? I think it just
Is it
happened.
Yeah,
spring?
April.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
there was a couple years, and then we had so much fun there. I forgot what the event's called in downtown Plainfield, but we got to pull the armored truck as well.
Mm.
And believe it or not, that was a beast. That was,
I'm
I
sure.
think we had some calves pull that day. Dismissed was there. If you remember him, big, tall dude.
Yep.
And I remember just pretty much wanting to pass out. That thing moved about 4 inches, and we had a hell of a team.
I remember Dismissed. He worked out at the Olympiad with two coupons.
Yeah,
I
he was.
thought
One
you
on
gotta
each
be
side.
kidding me. Yeah, one on each side. And I didn't see him again after that. So I kept thinking, like, did I imagine that? Or like so I would see like Storm Chaser and I'd be like, was I thinking of the wrong guy? But no, that's what always stands out and Dismissed. I
Yeah, I got
forgot
a
about
picture
that.
on my phone, and that speaking of second F, I don't know if this falls into the category, but I was kind of nuts in the beginning. My first year, I thought it was cool to save every single photo that I could. So I have quite the album from my first year, and then you kind of fall out of that, and then you start not even looking at them. So we. I would encourage guys that don't read the back blasts, and the back blast for those of you that don't know is basically a recap of the workout that happened that morning or evening. Um, you're missing out on a lot of fun stuff, whether it's a funny face in the picture or we get creative with the name-orama. Um, I can't even tell you how many times the name-orama we've done things for guys that have fart sacked. We've done things for guys that kind of slacked at the workout or just general teasing that's gone on and ribbing each other during the workout that comes out in the name-orama.
Oh, that's great. I don't look at backblasts enough. I really need to do that more.
Right, right.
Well, let's bring it full circle. One of the things that I think is really interesting, kind of going back to the VQ COTs, is to ask each person who's on this podcast how F3 has impacted your life. Doghouse and I talked about this last time, so I want to hear from you, Baby Mama, if you could bring it together or name a couple different ways that you've felt the impact of F3 in your life since joining.
Yeah, there's several different ways. Couple of the biggest ones for me are doing things that I never thought I could do or was capable of when it comes to mostly when I'm talking about running or endurance. Um, I'm going to be totally transparent here. When I heard guys were running 3 miles before workouts, I thought that was completely unattainable for me. I remember posting in my first 6 months on Mumble Chatter that I had ran a mile outside my house in under 9 minutes. And they don't know I about died afterwards, but just when you realize you can do that, and then
Mhm.
you kind of get addicted to it, right? We all go through injuries along the way that slow us down with that. But attending a Ragnar with the guys and getting
Mhm.
to run a leg, full knowing in the beginning that there was no way I was going to do this. But to Sparkler's point, your mind's your biggest enemy, your biggest barrier to your goals.
Mhm.
Um, but they're back at camp cheering you on and waiting for you to come in. So I think for me that bringing it all together was just there's really no limits to what we can do as men, right? Especially when you've got 100 and some guys behind you, and you've got the motivation in the palm of your hand every day when you go on Slack and you writing in the philosophy channel, Sparkler, Homer Simpson, guys that are dropping a lot of knowledge, Millville for sure,
Mhm.
that want to take things to the next level. And you say to yourself, I can't do that. I'll never do a pull up. I'll never run
Mhm.
that 5K. Um, cool story. It was after the convergence. I was just sitting there talking to Webster. Like, what are you doing the rest of the day, Webster? He's like, oh, I'm going to the Frosty 5K or the Frosty 5 mile.
Mhm.
And I didn't believe him. And I said, are you serious? He goes, yeah, I'm going to go do it. I said, well, shit, I'll go sign up with you. So I went over there having never run 5 miles, and I ran with Webster for, I don't know, the first three at like a 13 pace.
Mhm.
I'm like, this is freaking awesome. So, and then I took off a little bit at the end, but to see a guy go through that, and then all of us standing at the finish line cheering him on like he's our brother, um, that's the reward, right?
Yeah.
That's what we're all here for. Um, some other aspects that I hear a lot of guys talk about that I didn't think I'd go through is, life major life events that come into play, right?
Hmm.
And to have a support group of men that you can lean into and know that they're not going to judge you no matter what you say to them is invaluable, right? In life, especially at our age. So that has been huge for me because I've had a lot of those in the last 3 years, which is hard to believe. But the workouts prepare you for that suck. They prepare you for those challenges. And one of the packs just said to me this week. He said, "Bro, you're going to be fine." He goes, "You wake up every morning for hard.
Hmm.
This is nothing.
Hmm.
So get your
Yeah.
mind right. Stay focused on the men around you. Get more involved with F3 again, and you'll be able to pull through anything. That's so true. In
Absolutely.
anything you're going through, a lot of packs have lost jobs. Uh, we're a great support group for that and a great resource for that. Right? We all
Hmm.
network. We've got car mechanics. We've got HVAC. We've got lawyers. We've got a lot of teachers. You know, there's if you take the time to network with the rest of the hymns in this group, you can find what you're looking for sure.
Yeah, that's really great. Glad to hear you say that. That's I think that's a message that most of the men in the region can relate to. Whether it's I helped Doghouse move into his new place, and that's something that I'm thinking like, man, if I had to move somewhere, what a pain that would be. But now I look around and I'm like, no, I've got guys all around me who can help with even things like that. Like
In there,
we had a bunch of mulch delivered to our driveway, and I'm like, I don't have a wheelbarrow. Like, how am I gonna get this stuff where it needs to go? I reached out, and within like 30 seconds, Spikehorn's like, I got you. I got wheelbarrow, I got shovels. And I now I can't imagine a scenario I'll be in, whether it's looking for a new church or trying to find a wheelbarrow where I don't have a
you know,
hundred something guys.
what you're describing and what I've
Mhm.
experienced in Doghouse too. It's really hard to verbalize that to a guy you're trying to EH.
Mhm.
It seems to be so much about the workout, but that the workout's the last reason I'm here.
Mhm.
Sure, it's a big part of it, but at the end of the day, when you experience F3, that's a very small piece. And something cool. Last year we had the big windstorm here in Shorewood, as you know, and my
Mhm.
parents' house lost three big trees, and
Yeah.
my mom was just freaking out about what is this going to cost? Can we save my beautiful maple in the front yard? And I throw a post out there, and Foghorn, who I haven't spent much time with, he comes out here, and this guy, you'd have thought he was a lumberjack. He uprighted this tree. He uprighted this tree. He had the ties, he had the stakes. He's on a ladder. He's got
Wow.
Leatherman going here and there. He's tying some kind of surgical knot for the this thing is the most beautiful tree in the yard this year. And she's commented recently, she's like, "Can you believe your guys came out here? Autobahn was here. There was a couple others I'm probably missing. But, you get a load of mulch or, Fuzzy Navel needs to come over and tighten your toilet because it's loose. Freon will come out, even if he's off work on a Sunday and fix your furnace
Mhm.
or your air conditioning. Axel will take a vacation day to come home and fix the brakes on your car. So
Mhm.
we've got a lot of guys that are willing to give their time and they want nothing in return, which is
Yeah.
just unbelievable.
Yeah, that kind of leads me into the last section of third F. I've been reading Read to Lead, the F3 book. I started it when I started F3, and then I didn't get very far into it. I got distracted by other things. But I've gone back and been rereading it as part of the Bricklayer Challenge. And when they talk about the third F, we talk about it as faith, but really it's introduced as a belief in anything bigger than yourself and giving of yourself to others. I thought a lot about that because it's not necessarily just the community events that Doghouse will talk about in a minute, but I've been thinking more and more about like, what am I doing either in my family or in my career, or where where do I actually want to give, and how can I do that in a way that is genuine to who I am, and what my skills are and what my interests are. And that's something that I don't think I would have looked at the same way if it wasn't for F3. I would just been like, all right, what's the next promotion? What's the next role? What's the next event on the calendar? But now I'm looking for ways that are fulfilling ways to give back. So with that in mind, Doghouse, I wanted to see if you could share a few of the things that we have going on locally. And I know you're always very involved in Third F stuff, so I'd love to hear anything else that you want to share
Yeah,
about Third F.
appreciate it. So we got two big ones coming up in the next week and a half or so here. Monday, May 26th. Make sure I got my date right.
Okay.
We'll be in the Manuka Lions Club Memorial Day Parade, 10 a.m. Look for us out there. We'll be handing out flyers. We'll be handing out candy, probably carrying some coupons and flags and all that fun stuff. And Sunday, June 1st at JJC, we've got the GW Buck Boys and Girls Club 5K. That's their second annual. I know Ricola ran it last year with his M and raved about it. So we'll see what kind of presence we have out there.
I'm
And
running it this year. Are either one of you running it?
Which one?
The JJC 5K on June 1st.
I need to check the
Sunday.
dates. I'll come out if I can.
It's a Sunday,
yeah,
June 1st.
I
I'm
think I'll
trying to
be
do
out for
one
that
a
one.
month, so I'm gonna do that one next. Go
There you
ahead.
go. Yeah, I'm with you on that. Yeah, I'll probably be out on that one. That'll be a good one. We had our pre-order on our Shaman Wood gear. I think those are starting to ship. I got my email last night, so hopefully by the next time we record, I'll have a shiny new Shaman Wood Shammer shirt to show off. So that's what we got for Third F.
Awesome. Each time we record these podcasts, I'm sure there will be new Third Off opportunities. So we'll keep updating that as often as we can. All right. So in closing, I wanted to give a short COT. This is something I've actually been saving for a workout that I'm going to queue in the future, but I'll give a bit of it now. Uh, I've got this weighted club. Um, it was brought out maybe a month or two ago, and I can't remember who had it. If one of the guys had it at the Wood, and I was like, man, that looks really cool. It's like this long. It's like 10 pounds. It's got a great like knob handle, and it's really heavy. And I thought like for warming up in softball or golf, like that'd be a great thing to swing around. And then I start thinking as I'm holding this thing, like depending on which end you hold it on, it's either really, really heavy and hard to hold on to, or it gets really, really light if you hold on to the big end. I started thinking as I'm journaling during the bricklayer challenge that actions have consequences. And I come back to that statement because I read it in Seven Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. And what he was talking about was you cannot pick up one end of a stick without also picking up the other end of the stick. So when you pick something up, when you start doing something, be prepared for whatever's going to happen on the other end of that stick. So for us, when we joined F3, we got ourselves into something that has a pretty lasting effect. In Free to Lead, they talk a lot about Pogo 40. You know, uh, if you go through the typical routine of a man in his middle age years, you're going to go up and down, like gain 40 pounds, lose 40 pounds, go away from working out, you gain 40 pounds again, you're going up and down. But the point that he made in the book was if you post more often than you don't, you have that consistency, the camaraderie, the sense of community, all the three F's that we just talked about. And that's what's going to allow you to stay on the right side of health. So if you're going to pick up one end of the stick, if you're going to start something like F3, if you're going to start something in your community, be prepared whether it's a good consequence or a bad consequence to pick up the other end of that stick too. And I think that really comes home in the 75 hard and the bricklayer and F3 in general, that these good habits that we're starting are really an investment in, and that's what we have to do every single day, is pick up that stick and make the investment in order to get the reward on the other end. I keep reminding myself that it's not about perfection, it's about the process. And ultimately, when we pick up one end of the stick, we are picking up the outcomes on the other end of the stick, all the rewards, all the gains, all the benefits that we've been talking about today. So I'll leave it at that. Let's do a quick sign off and we'll get going. Baby Mom, why don't you start us? Name sign off.
All right, Rick Solomon, 49, Baby Mama.
Hey, Mama.
Hey, Mama. John Christ, 41, Doghouse.
Doghouse.
Doghouse. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Bill Skorowski, 46, Puddles.
Puddles.
Take care, everyone.
All right.
All right.
Take care, everybody.